Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy Luke back again for another PGA DFS live stream. What we're going to do here is we're going to go through the single round slate, go through some of the weather for today, see if there's going to be any advantage to either side of the draw, and then talk about some of our favorite plays. Because, of course, here on Saturday, pricing gets a little bit wonky when it comes to PGA DFS. So we're expecting some good value plays, some people that are just completely overpriced and that kind of stuff as well. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. First off, with our weather report for today in Shiba, Japan. So this is a weather report by the hour for the closest weather tower that I could find to the golf course. It's in Narashino, which is the town at the Country Club's end. And you guys can see it looks very similar to what we saw on Thursday. So first off, relatively no weather, right? You can see 0% chance of rain. For a while they'll be playing. You can see there's a tiny little bit of precipitation happening in the morning, overnight right now while they are sleeping, which isn't going to cause them any problems, right? It's going to stop by the time they get on the golf course. If anything, might make the golf course a little bit softer, a little bit easier to score on. Let's take a look at some of the temperature, though. You see it's going to start relatively cold, so just like it did yesterday, ball's not going to be traveling quite as far. So some of the guys in this morning wave, especially the guys that are starting way back, first people off the tee, are going to be dealing with a little bit of a disadvantage. They're going to be playing, let's say, 9 of their 18 today in some cold conditions. By the time they make the turn, sure, it's going to be fine. It's going to be in the 60s where it will be for the rest of the day. But that will create a distinct advantage for the people that are teeing off later. They're going to be hitting the ball farther. They're not going to have to worry about losing 10 to 15% of their distance just based on the temperature alone. Let's take a look at some of the wind, though. I think that's important to take a look at. So when they first tee off in the morning, 6-mile-an-hour winds with 7-mile-an-hour gusts. That means it's essentially non-existent. You're not even going to be able to feel it or see an effect on your golf ball. But by the time it gets to right around 11 a.m., you can see it gets to 10 with 14-mile-an-hour gusts. It is a lot more significant. And even though it's going to be warmer, I expect that to a little bit maybe damper on these guys in the afternoon to slightly cap off that advantage. I still do think it will be advantageous to play in the afternoon, though. That little bit of wind isn't going to be too worrisome or anything like that. You can see at one point it gets up to 13 to 17 miles an hour. So these guys right around 2 o'clock, this will be just after when the leaders tee off. They're teeing off a little bit earlier over there in Japan. They're going to have some problems, right? Unless you're a really good wind player, that kind of thing, you're going to be dealing with problems. So going into the week, we were looking for players that, very similar skill set, accurate off the tee, looking for accuracy into greens and bogey avoidance, just overall people that can score, that can avoid those big numbers. That's what we went into in Thursday. Had a very good Thursday in terms of our performance. I had 20 of the top 40 positions in the GPP. Currently, I have 18 of the top 40 in the GPP that I'm in. So not like we've fallen off very much or anything like that, but our model for Thursday was spot on. I'm going to completely stand by that. So what I've done is I've taken my modeling that I used for the 4-round event and I've used that for today because it worked on Thursday. We're expecting very similar conditions. There was a similar draw. So the only difference here, because we are playing in Showdown, is we're going to be targeting guys teeing off later on, which are the guys that are in better form, the guys that are at the top of the leaderboard anyways. So not only are they going to be getting that boost in terms of temperature, they're in better form regardless. So we're obviously going to be adding our game theory aspect to it, but from a statistical modeling standpoint, very similar to what we saw for the 4-round events. Let's see if there's anything to note here, maybe towards the afternoon in terms of weather. And you can see the winds are sustaining, so you're still going to see the 12 to 16 mile-an-hour range in terms of winds. So in the afternoon, it's going to be a little bit of a mix. You're going to be dealing with better temperature. The ball's going to be traveling normal distance, but at the same time, you're also dealing with a little bit of problem with the wind. So for me, I'm looking for guys in the afternoon that aren't dealing with those cold temperatures that are good in the wind. Players like Joaquin Niemann, players like Matt Jones that we've seen have a lot of success in the wind in the past. People that are in contention right now, again, are in that second wave, just are people that I'm definitely going to be looking at. So let's hop right into the player pool and start talking about some of those players that fit that type of mold. So we'll start off here. You guys can see the projections for yesterday. We're much closer to right around 30, 33 points. With the better scoring conditions for today, you can see I've adjusted my modeling. A lot of the higher scores now rate around 45 points. You can see solid options more in like the 35 to 38 point range. So I did make an adjustment for that in terms of the average score. We expect it to be slightly under par today because on Thursday, it was 0.3 of a stroke over par. We're going to see similar winds today, but a much, much softer golf course. Again, they've seen a lot of rain. Saw a lot of rain yesterday as well. And without these super cold temperatures, these players are going to be able to score in the afternoon. So a couple people that will be teeing off in the afternoon, believe it or not, Colin Morikawa will be, oh, sorry about that, guys. Didn't mean to bump that. Will be teeing off in the afternoon now. He's 1 under par, had a decent round yesterday of 2 under par, but shooting 2 under yesterday, was gaining 4.5 strokes on the field. So at $10,300, I didn't like him going into the week, but he's always somebody who has those spike performances with the putter. Usually not over a 4-round event. It's usually only for like 1 or 2 rounds in an event. And if that ends up happening today, he could post a 4 or 5 under round, which would be good enough at that price tag. So I don't hate going to him as much as I did in my other slates. So Colin Morikawa, probably somebody I have in. I'm playing about 15 lineups for this slate. I'll probably have him about 3 to 4 of them. So I don't even want to going crazy on or anything like that. I don't like the putting fit, obviously, but with these easy conditions, he could very well be throwing darts into these greens. It might not even matter. He might have 4 to 5 5-foot putts, and he should make all of those. Xander Schauffele, I'm going to be off of. I was off of him going into the week. It wasn't necessarily a fade in my player pool. If you guys remember, he was somebody I left as a blank. I was just fading based on the ownership. But the form hasn't been there either. So clearly either dealing with jet lag or just dealing with some bad form or some changes with the swing. So I don't want to be there. He's at a point of this golf tournament where he's going to be teeing off in the morning. So he's going to be dealing with those cold conditions and has a severe lack of motivation. Will Zalatoris also had a very bad round on Friday, going to be teeing off in the morning, which I don't like to see. Also really struggled with the wind. So we're still going to be seeing wind today, just better conditions in terms of temperature. But unfortunately, Will Zalatoris will be subjected to those cold temperatures in the morning, which means I will not be playing him. Somebody I will be playing, though, is Hideki Matsuyama, who talked about his game being in shambles going into the week. And anytime you hear that, guys, I mean, I instantly throw up a massive red flag and go, yeah, it's bullshit. If a player's really not playing well, they're not going to tell you, unless you're Jordan Spieth. He's 1 in a million. Maybe Rory McIlroy at times will be a little bit open, a little bit transparent about his game, that kind of thing. But Hideki Matsuyama, not known for that. So immediate red flag when I saw that. I knew he was probably due for a big week. That's why I stood by him as a core pick, that kind of thing. I like him here as well. It's going to be teeing off in the afternoon. He's been relatively good so far in these windy conditions, and you can tell he has the familiarity on the golf course. You know, he played here back in 2019. He said playing with Tiger Woods gave him a lot of confidence, gave him a little bit of a strategy guide for this golf course, which I'm not necessarily sure I buy. Again, Tiger Woods was there for the first time as well. But Hideki Matsuyama, I like playing him in this situation. He is a little bit expensive. He is the most expensive player on the slate. Let's see, he's 10,005. Yeah, 10,003 for Colin Morikawa, but I think that's well warranted. Definitely going to see ownership, though. So if you're somebody who is looking for an edge in terms of ownership, perhaps fade Hideki Matsuyama, but I'm only playing 10 to 15 lineups, so I'm not going to be obsessing over ownership, at least personally. Let's go down to Joaquin Niemann. He had a very good day on Thursday. We'll be teeing off in the afternoon. I'm using that same type of modeling, so obviously Joaquin Niemann is going to be another play for us here. $9,700, so consistent with what we saw for the price on Thursday. And you guys can see for a 4-round event, I want to see where his modeling has him. See, he has a number 5 course fit, which that's why I was all over him. You know, somebody who has the ball striking that we were looking for here. And again, I'm all over him here on Saturday. We have a comment down in the chat. Just want to address. Berry says all over Cebu today. So yeah, we'll get to that. He had a decent day on Thursday. But I'm obviously not going to let 1 round sample size skew my results or anything like that. In terms of our course fit, in terms of recent form fit, he was up there in my modeling. So yeah, somebody that I'll definitely have in my player pool, which we'll talk about him right now since he's right here. He's $8,800. You can see projected for 39.8 points, which at his price tag is really good in terms of point per dollar. You can see he's priced down from where he was going into the week at $9,600. He's going to be teeing off right around 10, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Not Eastern time, sorry, Japan time over there, which means he's going to be teeing off when it's around 50, 52 degrees. But within an hour of him teeing off, it's going to be in those warm conditions. So it's not like he's getting the full boost of some of those guys that are teeing off later on, but not somebody that's going to be teeing off in the early AM hours or anything like that. He's fairly aggressive. He's also fairly aggressive and fairly effective when he's in contention and actually has a lot of mental, I don't even know the word is for attention. Like he has the attention span for a golf tournament. At 1 under, he's still in the top 20. He clearly still going to be engaged. So I like going there. If he was the 3 or 4 over par right now, I'd have to throw the massive red flag for you, but you're good as of right now. Let's see what we get down here. Keegan Bradley. So Keegan Bradley is somebody who hasn't been putting really well. We saw that last week at the CJ Cup. He did actually gain 2 strokes putting at the CJ Cup. But here at the Zozo, he's kind of lost that ability. He's been good with his ball striking, giving himself plenty of opportunities. What I really like here is the price decrease. You can see him went from $9,400 to $8,200. and is extremely significant, especially for somebody who's not playing horrible golf. Right now, I believe he's 1 over par, so a little bit worse than Siwoo Kim. He's probably going to be playing in those cold conditions for at least an hour and a half, something like that. But again, I'm not going to let that dictate my entire player pool. With Keegan Bradley, you have a very good course fit, somebody who's excellent in terms of his ball striking and has this spike putting performance from time to time, right? We saw him gain at the CJ Cup. There was a point of this year where he gained at 5 straight events with the putter. And again, we're not in that type of stretch of form for Keegan Bradley, but if he has that type of ability in him, you never know when it's going to come out. And in Showdown, he has the firepower to take it to 6 or 7 under par. And there's not necessarily many people in the field that can do that. There's maybe 7 to 8 of them total. Without thinking of them up to the top of my head, a lot of them are these guys up top, right? And then you have somebody like Keegan Bradley. There's not that many, especially with these type of conditions we expect. It's going to be windy. You're going to have to be in complete control of your game to shoot something very low, and you have to be an elite ball striker to do that. So someone like Joaquin Niemann, these elite tier players. If somebody catches a really good day, Luke List, right? He's a volatile, extremely good ball striker. Kyle Stanley, he's way down the board, but he's somebody who could shoot 7 or 8 under at this golf course just because he actually has that ball striking ability. Somebody like CT Pan, somebody like Carlos Ortiz, Lanto Griffin, they don't have that ability. They aren't good enough with their ball striking to give themselves enough opportunities here. It's a very tough track. Putting yourself to 10, 15 feet here for a birdie putt is not good enough. These greens are extremely undulated. You have to be stuffing it 5 feet or less, pretty much, to have a secure chance at birdie. It's not like at the CJ Cup, or if you hit it to 10, 15 feet, you were licking your chops thinking you were making a birdie every single time. It's a completely different affair. That's why last week we saw some people that weren't necessarily good ball strikers succeed. And that's why this week we're seeing a complete flip. We're seeing a lot of those ball strikers at the top of the leaderboard. Yesterday we saw some of those putters do a little bit better, and that was just because we were dealing with a lot of up and downs. So, all right, let's continue through some of these middle tier plays that I like here in the slate. So in terms of pure projection, I do like Charlie Hoffman, right? Somebody I really liked going into Thursday, and we haven't really seen the form of late. He was in the broadcasting booth yesterday afternoon talking about trying to get in the top 10, that kind of thing. I believe he's at 3 over right now. And if he thinks he has a chance at the top 10, I want to play him because he's probably one of the only people in the field that far down the board that actually thinks they have a chance to go out and do so and actually has motivation to do so. He was talking about wanting to get a few top 10s on the record here before the end of the year, just to make sure that he could keep his card next year. So he's actually motivated to go and do that. Again, he was in the commentator booth, so a lot of people heard about that, but I'm okay going to that. I mean, he at least has the motivation there, and he's a ball striker. You can see he's obviously a good course fit. He's projected higher than everyone else in this range. Doesn't have, I mean, he's priced up from where he was to start the week, so I expect a lot of people to not play Charlie Hoffman. You can see as of right now, projected for 10.7% ownership, might even come in single-digit ownership. So I really like that play a lot there. Let's go to a few other of my picks. Matt Wallace is still priced down for whatever reason. He's cheaper than what he was going into the week. He's in the top 5 right now. Clearly has his game back. Very good in windy conditions. So he is going to be teeing off in the afternoon in the warmer end of things, and he's good in the wind. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Somebody that's in form, playing in the afternoon, and good in the wind. He checks all 3 boxes right there for me. Brandon Grace does the same thing, right? He's somebody who statistically going into the week I really liked. I thought he was drastically underpriced. I played 35% Brandon Grace, and after day 1 was kind of kicking myself, but after yesterday, back on the wagon with Brandon Grace. Very good in the wind. He's coming in with good form as a good course rank, and he's playing in the afternoon. So again, checking all those boxes for us. Sebastian Munoz, same ordeal. Good course fit coming in. Extremely volatile player. Again, I expected it to play a little bit easier than it was. So that's why I thought he was a little bit of a better course fit. But on Thursday, that ended up panning out. The guys that I attacked that were aggressive, that were high birdie or better percentage players, I did it with their approach play, ended up being the best plays. And again, Sebastian Munoz didn't have the best first day. He kind of made up for it completely yesterday. Shot 4 under par. I think he's trending in the right direction. I want a lot of Sebastian Munoz on this slate. Matt Jones, I'll be playing as well. Already talked about how good he is in windy conditions. Won at the Honda Classic, was very good yesterday. Very good on day 1 as well. Takuni Kanaya, he hasn't really looked very sharp to this point, and he remains chalk. He was chalk on both showdown slates to this point, also on the main slate. I don't understand it. I mean, I get trying to be early on people, but you kind of don't want to beat yourself over the head on the guy if he goes out there and doesn't play very well to begin. All right, Brendan Steele. You can see obviously completely underpriced here. He's in the top 5 right now. Is a good course fit going into the week. He's projected for 34 points, which is a lot more than pretty much anyone else in this range, except for somebody down here like Gim, which we'll get to in a second. I like going to him. Again, he's a little bit higher owned because he is in that top 5. He's going to have a little bit of name value. Somebody I like even more, though, is Doug Gim. Doug Gim is a ball striking phenom. If anybody's going to go out here, get to 6-7 under par, he's on that very small short list of guys that's capable of doing so. He has the ball striking we're looking for, the off the tee play we're looking for. The only thing Doug Gim has to bring to the table is the putter. And again, if you're looking for just a 1-round sample size, you can get to 6 or 7 under par on your ball striking alone. That's completely doable. Obviously, for 4 rounds in a row, that's not sustainable. It's not something that you can't expect to have an outlier performance every time you go out there. But Doug Gim does have that positive end of the volatility in his range of outcomes. Tom Hoagie, I liked him going into the week. That's why you're going to see his showdown projection where it is there. That's why the model likes him as much as it does. We haven't really seen the form of late, though, right? So Doug Gim, we have seen some ball striking from. He's kind of thrown it away with a putter at this point. Tom Hoagie's kind of been bad across the board. He's typically one of the accurate drivers of the golf ball. We haven't been able to see a lot of his shots, obviously, but from what we've seen, from what we've been able to see on the telecast, hitting balls out of bounds and to the trees, that kind of thing. We've only seen 2 of them, but God knows what the hell he's doing with the rest of his game. So again, he's typically very consistent. He's typically one of the best par players in the entire PGA Tour. Goes out there with the highest par percentage player. The last time I checked, it was last year. It was the Open Championship. He was in the field, and I was looking for par makers, and he was popping in the model. You don't necessarily want that in terms of DFS. You're looking for birdie makers, for guys that are going to score, especially for showdown. So I'm avoiding him. I don't think it's worth going to. All right, let's go to some of the really cheap options here. See if there's anyone that's just drastically underpriced. I don't know why it says 700, 7,000. All right, let's see. I don't really like going to Roger Sloane. He was in better form going into the week than what he's shown of late. As in terms of a course fit, he's all right, but I don't like the form. Don't love many people in this range. Wyndham Clark, I'd be willing to go to. He's good in hard conditions. He's also somebody who's relatively long off the tee, pops with the irons from time to time, puts up 6-7 under rounds. Sung Kang you go to. He's $7,400. He was chalk going into the week. He was chalk for the first round of Showdown. Same thing for round 2, and he completely shit the bed. That's the only reason I'd consider playing him here is because nobody's going to play him. You can see my ownership has him at 12.6%. That's just because he was so highly owned in rounds 1 and 2. My algorithm takes a lot of that into consideration, especially for Showdown, the first 2 rounds, that kind of thing. I do expect that number to come in lower in reality. He's probably going to be closer to 6-7% owned just because people were burned by him so much. And Kang's a wild man. He goes out there. He's very aggressive. He doesn't really have the course fit that I'm looking for here, but if he goes out there and just has a day with his irons, he could shoot 6 or 7 under par, and it wouldn't surprise me. I like going to Kyle Stanley, though. Kyle Stanley is a lot cheaper. He's only $6,600. We talked about guys that have the ball striking to take this place low, and he fits that mold. I don't know if I'd really want to play anyone down low here. I might consider playing Sean Norris. He looked good in day 1. Was not very good yesterday, but again, we are comparing this day in terms of weather, in terms of conditions, to day 1, not yesterday. So I like going to somebody like Sean Norris potentially. Not sure if he's going to make my pull though. Let's see. Troy Merritt, right? Troy Merritt played here in 2019. He's been good to this point in the golf tournament, especially so yesterday. Has a very good course fit. Good in terms of my modeling. There's nothing bad I can say about Troy Merritt there. Also playing in the afternoon. Going to be dealing with the better side of the draw. Garrett Higo, don't play. He's in bad form. I always take a chance on him just because he has that pedigree. He's somebody who, once he gets it clicking, he's going to absolutely tear it up out here. It's going to happen at any event now, so I'm not going to get off of Higo, but in Showdown, I'll avoid him until I see something from him, at the very least. Let's see. Guys that are teeing off in the afternoon that are good in wind. Cameron Tringale does fit that mold. I will just never tout Cameron Tringale or play him. So I'll just say he fits the model. I won't be playing him though. Let's see. Anyone else on here? Ricky is good in wind. We've seen that in the past. He's from South Florida. Makes a lot of sense. It fits that type of narrative. Hasn't really looked himself in terms of the ball striking. He led the field in ball striking, actually tee to green as well at the CJ Cup. And then now he's middle of the pack here in this field. So clearly he's mentioned to the media that he's dealing with jet lag. Typically it takes a day or two to go over. And now it's Saturday. So perhaps he's over the jet lag now. Returns to that ball striking form that we saw just less than a week ago at the CJ Cup. He's been putting the ball beautifully. These are complex greens to read. They're bent grass greens that are extremely fast. And all of these things are right in Ricky Fowler's wheelhouse. So I like going there. And yeah, that's about it, guys. So that's all we're going to have for this live stream here. Thank you guys for stopping by. As always, if you guys haven't already liked the stream, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, highly recommend that you guys go ahead and do so. We don't just post Showdown content here. We post main slate content for golf every single week. We cover the NFL, Showdown content for that, main slate content, UFC. We're going to cover NBA at some point this year. So something for everybody out there. If you guys want access to the projections that you saw in this video, if you want direct access, I'll be updating my projections all the way up until game time tonight. Lock's going to be at 7:30 p.m. Make sure to go ahead and check out my Patreon page. If you're watching the replay, I'll go ahead and put a link down in the description. Again, I do my projections for Showdown on there for every single day. We do it for the main slate every week. I also have an NFL Patreon page. If you guys are looking for projections for the NFL side or Showdown or main slate, I have that on there too. So make sure to check it out. And again, thank you guys